Hello, everybody. Scott Golden here with the Pro Wrestling Logic YouTube channel. We've got over 1,100 audios available, old school and new school wrestling for you to check out. Hopefully, something you enjoy. Interviews as well. I want to get back to those this spring. I know people's schedules are still messed up because of the pandemic, and so I'm trying to be mindful of that. My work schedule, while I pay off a couple of debts, is a little crazy too. Never having the same schedule on a day-to-day basis. But anyway. We go into the August 27th, 1989 edition of Wrestling Challenge. This is during the Tony Schiavone era, which is kind of cool because Tony was only there for about a year, and he was there the first year I was an official fan. So my exposure to Tony Schiavone at this point was literally WWF, and I remember as a kid being confused when he disappeared. This is days before SummerSlam 1989. My favorite SummerSlam of all time, because I'm an old school nerd, is 1988. 89, though, still in my top three all these years later. Actually, I think the SummerSlams 88 to 92 were good all throughout. There were good SummerSlams after that. 97 was also good. But you'd have some touch and go. But 88 to 92, I don't think you can go wrong. Hart Foundation in a enhancement talent match here. Hart Foundation days away from a non-title match with the Brainbusters. Not necessarily sure why. Excuse me. They did non-title, other than the fact that they didn't want to beat the Brainbusters, and so maybe they wanted the opening match to be something of note. Jake Billiman's one of the enhancement talents here. Hart still trying to find his way as a babyface single star. Goes back with Neidhart. Neidhart, of course, Warrior Brawler. Hart, Warrior Technician. Hart Foundation, looking back, I think is I don't want to call them an underrated team, but maybe from time to time historically an underappreciated team in the face of guys like the Rockers and Demolition, the Brainbusters. I think the Hart Foundation may get a little underappreciated. I would gladly trade them for most of the teams on either major national U.S. company these days. Not every, but many. Neidhart comes in, he hits a few strikes and all of that. Good random or pretty regular tags, and then they do the heart attack and the Heart Foundation maneuver. 1, 2, 3. There we go. Then there is an update where one of my favorite angles of all time, and it's when I begged to start getting cable. Didn't get cable until 1992, so that proves how good my begging game was back in the day as a kid. But Rick Rude and Roddy Piper are kind of heads up with each other in the Primetime Wrestling studio. The reason I was begging for cable was Primetime Wrestling, which when they put all the primetimes, or most of them, up on the network, I was super excited. Primetime, probably my favorite guilty pleasure when I would go to a friend's house or my grandparents' house where they had cable. Catching primetime was a big deal. Anyway, Rude and Piper are in opposite ends of the spectrum at the recording studio, and needless to say, they want to fight. So they chase each other all over and kind of tease the start of their feud. Piper, of course, doing broadcasting at the time. Now we go to Mr. Perfect in an enhancement match. And he's literally brutal. Right after the kid, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Snapmare rolls him over. Henning and the Red Rooster are up at SummerSlam. Terry Taylor, aka the Red Rooster, blows out his knee about 4 minutes into the match, and they have to cut a good bit. So that's never fun when you get a major match and you can't get where you want to get to with it. Anyway, Henning with several chops, inverted snapmare, and other like-minded moves. Henning again hits a couple of shots along the way, and he manages to do everything he possibly can. The enhancement talent does back him up with a couple of shots out of, maybe not nowhere, but out of frustration. Get the body slam. Henning really good about giving enhancement talent opportunities. Cuts the guy short a little bit, and you know, off the ropes. Interesting in that he's got blue and pink gear. Maybe it went into some bleach. I don't really know there. But Henning hits a picture perfect dropkick right under the chin here, and then goes to, in a rare maneuver for him anyway, goes to the top rope, hits a picture perfect top rope dropkick, missile style, which A for 1989 and B for Kurt Hennig was just really cool to look at. Hennig eventually obviously gets the win with the perfect plex, and gets a quick win there. Then we go into a Tito Santana matchup and enhancement match there. No big surprise that Tito is victorious. Tito, of course, having been turned on by Rick Martel at WrestleMania 5, so their feud's still going. I know that Bruce Pritchard in podcast has said that them getting a blow off on television, although they did get a lumberjack match in October of 89, November of 89, whatever the Saturday night's main event for fall that year was. I remember this because we got a massive lightning and hailstorm the night of that, and I remember our television, our power totally getting knocked out, and that being a big deal because I didn't get to see the Hulk Hogan match with Ted DiBiase at the time. Got to see it years later when I was doing tape trading. But anyway, so obviously they're plugging the six-man tag, which is going to be Tito and the Rockers versus the Rujos and Martel. That's the closest they ever came to a blow-off on pay-per-view. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but Tito brings the man in the hard way, hits a flying forearm, 1, 2, 3, and away we go. We go to the event center, which is always an enjoyable run with Sean Mooney. Sean Mooney better than nearly any of the enhancement, and I might as well call them enhancement announcers because they're not. Most of them are not professional in WWE these days. Ultimate Warrior, hyping getting his hands on Rick Rude. Warrior does a typical Warrior promo. Red, yellow, and a little bit of purple paint. So, multicolored Warrior with wristbands included. Warrior never had to make sense to a kid. He just was intense, and it was a good time. I was never a Warrior fan as a kid, but when I went back, I enjoyed his promos a lot more as an adult for being non-sequential than ever. Basically, the Brainbusters cut a promo about how no one believed they could do it. Arn wasn't strong enough. Tully wasn't fast enough. Bobby Heenan wasn't a good enough manager, but yet they're the tag team champions. Looking back, the fact that they were champions only for a few months is surprising to me, but at the same time, Brainbusters, a.k.a. Tully and Arn, not Vince McMahon creations. And so maybe he just never got fully behind them, or maybe it was the battle over money that threw it all away. But the Brainbusters and the Rockers, my favorite tag team feud of all time. Midnight's and Rock and Roll Express probably second. But anyway, we move on to another enhancement match. Those were matches, by the way, hyped for Nashville Auditorium Saturday night, September 2nd, right after SummerSlam. So you kind of know where that's going. Anyway, $1 Million Man with the $1 Million belt and Virgil. And a really weird match, I guess weird to me anyway, with Superfly Snuka. Needed something to do for Snuka, and I guess DiBiase could carry him, but still, seems like a step backwards with the $1 Million Man character. Mere months, because you gotta remember the $1 Million belt only came out in March or April. So months after the $1 Million belt creation, he's in there working with Snuka, and not that he would have cared. And for the time Snuka was over, it just seems like a really odd pairing when they didn't have a known feud going on. And of course, $1 Million Man in enhancement matches, always a good time, always enjoyable for a number of reasons, and without a doubt, he's a guy that you gotta enjoy, you gotta appreciate and respect, I guess you would say. And DiBiase obviously continues to talk about running Jake Roberts off a little bit. He's talking about a number of things. And basically DiBiase, you know, if you haven't listened to our Mid South series, which still going to go back and add some things to that, but um, he's a major part of that. He hits a snap suplex. He hits even a power slam in this, and some back elbows. And Ricky Itaki actually takes some of the money that he's been offered to go away and not wrestle. DiBiase pulls the money out of his own tights, meaning Itaki's tights, and goes at him for being that dishonest. Double axe handle from the inside by DiBiase. DiBiase anything but happy with all of that mess, and hits a diving fist drop, which he's also known for. Hogan and Beefcake ready for Savage and Zeus. They talk about having the plan, being men with plans and kind of going at it pretty aggressively. Um, Not exactly, right home promos, but again, that SummerSlam I think was the best for probably a decade. In terms of buy rate, maybe just short of a decade, but a long time. SummerSlam '89 did major box office. I think a lot of it had to do with the hype behind the movie. Warrior and Rude blowing off their feud probably had a good bit to do with it as well. But needless to say, Boris Zukov is up next. Zukov, who has not been completely obliterated yet. Probably that would happen in 1990 or so. But, he's out here. And Ronnie Garvin, who's still petering around. He's gone by the end of the year, I'm pretty sure. No, wait. He is gone after WrestleMania 6. Garvin doesn't last very long in the WWF. To think that in this point of, the summer of '89, he's, less than 2 years away, removed from being the NWA champion. And he's here in a one step above an enhancement match with Ronnie Garvin here. Um, anyway, Zukov goes right to town on him. Hard shots. Garvin actually does a lot of covering up. Comes back. Garvin known for being kind of a guy who's ready to knock people clearly unconscious whenever the opportunity presents itself. And it does here. Leaping headbutt by Garvin. Garvin not wanting to take any unnecessary guff, and he's still embroiled in his feud with Greg Valentine. That seems to pick up. He's been reinstated by this point, although he is a ring announcer at SummerSlam '89 in the Valentine Hercules match. Backdrop out of the corner by Garvin. Garvin then hits a hard shot and knocks the man out. 1, 2, 3, and there we go. Garvin certainly gets a decisive victory there. Savage basically says that he's going to take out Beefcake. He's going to cut his hair, which he never does. And then he's going to be the one to leave Hogan for Zeus. Zeus said he's going to rip Hogan's head off, which seems ultra violent for this time and space. We go to a SummerSlam '89 report, mere days before the event. I think this aired on a Saturday. SummerSlam's on a Monday. Yes, they did pay-per-views even on a Monday night back then. Of course, kids weren't going back to school and they were targeted to kids. Dusty Rhodes promises to get rid of the honky-tonk man, teach the honky-tonk man some things about respect, and kind of lighten it up. He didn't. Odd that they never gave the Rhodes and Bossman feud, which was running at the time, a pay-per-view main cycle, although they did have them captain opposite teams at Survivor Series '89, and Rhodes actually was main eventing a lot of C and B towns with the Boss Man at the time, but it just struck me as odd that they never really did a strong blow off for the feud. Some would say Dusty Rhodes was wasted. I wouldn't necessarily say he was wasted, but I definitely would say that he was undervalued in the area at the time. Then we see a promo from Demolition. They're promising chaos when they fight off against the The trio of the Twin Towers, and Andre the Giant are the trio. Of course, Slick and Bobby Heenan managing them. They promise to crush. Axe, Smash, and Duggan promise to, well, smash and bust apart the Twin Towers, and there we go. Rougeau brothers, nearing the end of their WWF run. They will be done right after Royal Rumble 1990, so about maybe 5 months away from their ending, which is sad. Rougeau brothers again, a team that might have been, you could count them as undervalued. Rougeau's out there and kind of still with Jimmy Hart. The Rougeau's Rockers thing, which I think there is one of the marathon matches, the 60-minute matches between those two tandems out there somewhere, which I want to seek out someday. Anyway, was supposed to go to one of those live, never got to, and that is a regret. Slick and Jimmy Hart working together. I don't really understand that alliance at the time, although with the upcoming six-man tag, including, now I do, in the inclusion of Rick Martel, who was managed by Slick at the point, and Jimmy Hart's Rougeau brothers. Maybe they're trying to get ready to manage each other. Basically, there's a nip-up contest. The enhancement talent can't do it, even though he's given ample opportunity. He probably could have done it, but obviously plays the lesser part, and the Rougeau takes advantage of the young guy who cannot properly defend himself, although they clap for him and make fun of him and all that stuff. Rougeaus continue to go into what amounts to be a pretty aggressive match here. They do the double bombs away and actually sit down on one of the enhancement talents. 1, 2, 3, and away we go. That will close us for today's edition. We'll be back with more right after this.